Welcome to the next episode of Marketing Playbook brought to you by Bharat Network Group in association with the Banker Media, the Founder Media, and Tech Disruptor Media. Giving a short brief about our company, Bharat Network Group or BNG is a multi-brand ecosystem that unify and empower India's leading voices and platform across fintech, technology, innovation, startups, and other sectors. So within this ecosystem, we have different platforms starting from Tech Disruptor Media. It's a platform where we cover innovation and digital transformation shaping enterprises. The Banker Media that delivers insights and thought leadership for the banking and financial services community. And in the last, we have our Founder Media, which is a platform that captures the stories and journeys of entrepreneurs and emerging leaders driving the India's growth. I am Aishwarya Saxena, Senior Associate Editor from BNG, and I will be moderating today's session with you all. So, today's session is themed around strategic growth levers, winning the B2B tech market in 2025. It is crafted for senior B2B marketing leaders that are navigating one of the most dynamic periods our industry has ever experienced. So, to explore these themes in depth, we are joined by our exceptional panel of marketing leaders who are shaping the future of B2B technology. It's my privilege to introduce our distinguished speakers, starting from Karan Chaital, Head of Marketing, DXC Technologies. Hi, sir. Can I have a short brief about yourself so that we can get acquainted with each other?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Aishwarya. I'm Karan Chatrat. I lead marketing for DXC Technology in India. DXC, if think Bindu, probably you would be aware, we are strong partners with you. I see the ServiceNow board back. So we are a B2B IT services company, pretty agnostic vis-a-vis industries are concerned, as well as across the board in terms of the offerings. So whether it is infra, applications, analytics, and so on. Yeah, good to be here. Yeah.
Then we have Ms. Bindu Arun, Senior Global Partner Marketing Lead, ServiceNow. On to you, ma'am.
Yeah, hi. Uh, Thanks for the introduction. So I'm managing some strategic partners here, and like Karan said, uh, we are very closely working with most of these GSIs and a lot of B2B marketing we do. It's ServiceNow is a digital workflow company, so we help organizations simplify how work happens and AI and together into one platform. So I think this topic is quite relevant today, and it's kind of the hot topic. And I look forward to the discussion with the esteemed panel. I've had a chance to have a conversation with Uday. Karan, I'm meeting for the first time, though. Yes.
Then we have Mr. Udaynathan Vetikat, SVP and Head Global Marketing, Securetech. Hi, sir.
Hi,
So can we have a quick introduction about yourself, sir?
thank you. Thanks for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to talk along with Karan and Bindu, my esteemed panelists. So, as you had mentioned, I head the global marketing as a CMO. I also head global channels, investors, analysts, public relationships at SecureTech, with over 39 years of marketing, sales, and leadership experience. Been with SecureTech now for the last 7.5 years, but previously in Cisco, IBM, HCL Tech, Novell, Entity, NetMagic, Star TV, and CSS Corp. So cutting across the spectrum of IT, telecom, media, etc. SecureTech is an organization which is primarily into cybersecurity. It's a Indian multinational organization with offices in US and India. And the rest of the globe, we work with partners as MSSPs and others. And in SecureTech, we have our own platform, which helps the customers, become aware of a continuous threats that attack them, and they are able to then manage it on a 24/7 basis. If that gets bypassed, then there is AI-powered detection and response that happens to attacks. And furthermore, we have protection solutions, especially from identity and endpoints and servers, etc. a gamut of services which is aimed at providing people, process, and technology as a SaaS platform for the customers. Most importantly, this organization has had the backing of the Prime Minister's office. We got the Best Startup of the Year award. Although we are 13 years young, we also got DSCI's Best Product of the Year awards. The analysts love us and has placed us in very good positions, and over 250 odd customers and over 400 cybersecurity professionals. That's who we are, and we are trying to make a dent in this part of the world. Thank you.
So, getting started with our discussions, my first question of discussion is: in an era where attention is currency, should marketers prioritize grabbing eyeballs by any means necessary, even if it risks short-term gimmickry, or play the long game by focusing on smaller but more meaningful audience connections? So, Mr. Uday, what are your opinions about this?
Yeah, for me, I'm in B2B marketing. So the buying cycles in B2B marketing is very long. And the most important thing in cybersecurity is trust. And not just in cybersecurity, I guess in all the industries, trust is paramount. So the question of whether to chase attention or to cultivate connections is more strategic in nature. There are two approaches, obviously the strategic one and the tactical one, and there are insights into both. Let's take the strategic dilemma that marketers face on attention versus connection. We in B2B marketing, we face pressure to deliver quick wins, especially from the sales organization or from the CEOs and our investors who want leads, engagement, pipeline, velocity, standard stuff. But the audience that we serve, especially the decision makers, the influencers, the procurement teams, the technical buyers, they value credibility, they value relevance, they value long-term partnership. So while we are encouraged to go bold and viral, there is also a need to go deep and deliberate. Clearly, the short term is a gimmick. The gimmick gamble, as I call it, has some pros. We get immediate visibility, we get flashy campaigns, we can do some influencer shout outs, we can do provocative messaging, which can spike your traffic and brand mentions. Clearly, lead generation, top of the funnels, either through paid ads, gated content, webinars. We can generate fast results, which is meant for the sales organization. There's also clearly performance metrics that you can show via clicks, impressions, and form fills. But it is the cons that one has to be very clear about, especially at a strategic layer. There is a sense of brand dilution that can happen if you overuse the gimmicks, because that can erode trust, especially in technical side like cybersecurity where we are, or in the regulated industries. The conversion also becomes iffy. The quality of the leads, they may be unqualified or disengaged. People are just curious to know more about a technology. They may not be buyers at all. So the sales guys start, pushing back and saying this is not good enough. The impact may be very short-lived because it's just, you cannot just do it with one set of campaigns. You have to nurture it. Otherwise, the attention fades very quickly. So while the short-term marketing can boost your traffic and can help you meet your quarterly targets, but I think we have to align it to an integrated campaign with a very clear strategy. Otherwise, you risk burning through your budget, which chases metrics, and that doesn't move the needle. And we all know what's happening in the budgets in today's world. So I think one should focus on the long-term connection as well, especially the loyalty lever, where trust and credibility through thought leadership content, educational content, community engagement, build durable relationships. The brand should be authoritative. We need a consistent messaging so that we become a reliable partner. There should be sustainable growth, as I was mentioning, nurturing of your leads so that you can convert better. While ROI is important, some of these, when you do the strategic one, may give you a delayed ROI, the brand, the thought leadership, etc. So it's important for us to stay in communication with the CEOs and the board and explain to them how the long-term game may give you results, but in a delayed manner. It is not a day, week, month, quarter. Some of these are resource intensive. It requires investments in CRM, in your content, in your relationship management. So clearly budgeting is a very critical factor. It's very hard to measure, especially the qualitative aspects. So I think my final statement would be use short-term tactics to spark interest or to meet some immediate goals, which is the demand from your sales or partnerships organizations. But invest in long-term strategies to build trust, deepen your relationships, and drive sustainable growth. I think we need to align with clear KPIs and have a unified brand narrative. Back to you.
Do you hold the same opinion, Karan?
Yeah, I mean, I would say mostly same. Just want to give you like a bit of a twist, right? You spoke about uh, attention grabbing and so on, right? So, and see, I think all of us are in the B2B mode. So all of us are in in something like a long buying cycles and all. But in this buying cycle, there is always, a time um, when probably the customer is most receptive, or the customer is someone who really would want, uh, I mean, to say, put it in a wrong word, right? Maybe the most vulnerable could be as well. And uh, attention grabbing, not, I'm not saying it in the wrong sense, like you become flashy or gimmicky, but grabbing the attention in the right context sometimes gives you that foot in the door. Um, I mean, there are in ServiceNow as example as well. Now, I would say, as AI tools, right, or AI native or AI first tools, uh, they can help you get uh, maybe the signals from the market. Okay, what should be said, what, when, right, and what is the right context to say and to whom, because these are some of those pillars, right? What do you want to say, who do you want to say it to, what is your USP, and when do you want to say it? So it's those basic stuff, right? And um, I mean, we've had some of our experiments with some of these providers, the AI services, wherein they are helping us create those specific contexts, or that window when you go and do that attention grabbing, and then you really need to go about doing all the long the whole hog around, whether it is content, whether it is talking, whether it is nurturing, and so on and so forth. So pretty much there, but I think some of it is still shifting, all what we are seeing with AI. Yeah.
Bindu, would you like to add something more?
Yeah, I think both Karan and Uday have covered most of the part, and even I work very closely with partners. Like, where what we see, it's, attention is not just the only thing which moves the needle. Outcomes do. Like in service now, every dollar counts. Like Uday was saying, right? Budget counts. It's shared KPIs for us. It's long cycles, and we look towards tangible results. Quick visibility campaigns, I would say, delivers awareness, but they rarely help us build pipelines. It's like, or influence decisions. We are in a constant buying cycle, right? The cycle is longer. Sometimes you look at saying that, hey, we do something in Q1, for example, will not result something in Q1 itself. It might take next Q1 to get that through. So the real value comes from meaningful trust-based engagement, is what I would say, something which Uday also referred to and also Karan said, right? And at we like I already said, right, the approach, every joint campaign when I do with partners, because I work very closely with the largest of partners, right? So when we do anything, it is mostly around you know it's awareness. Yeah, biggest factor is to build the trust with the customer, because once we have that, that's what moves into it's a cycle, right? It's not just one. It's upsell, expansion, cross sell. It's a constant cycle. So while attention will get you into that conversation, relevance also keeps you there. And in today's world, tight budgets, accountable marketing, meaningful conversations or connections isn't just good branding. It's about good business, right? So I would say, I think we all covered the same points. If I repeat, it is just kind of going to be a repetition, but yeah, that's what it is. We all say attention matters, but trust is more relevant to keep it sustainable, I would
Yeah,
say.
and just wanted to add, right? You spoke about it, right? Bindu, from a customer's point of view, they're looking at solutions. They're not really looking whether it is a product A or a B or a C or a this or a that, or right. So they are So even you get their attention has to be from a perspective of whether it is solving, and for that, basically solving or solutioning their respective stuff. For that to happen, uh, we humans know that, right? We may not be that trustworthy, uh, or we may not be that trusting, for some, in most of the case. So we need to build that up. So it cannot happen just like that, but uh, somewhere or other you can get some attention, but you still need to do the entire stuff.
Summarizing the whole thing, trust is the key differentiator that will get you in the long term. So, going to our next topic about how customers are valuing transparency in the brands, but too much can expose vulnerability or it will weaken the brand story. So, should marketers reveal everything to build credibility, or should they create the truth to preserve brand? So, Bindu, would you like to start from there?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I think it's in continuation with what we are saying, right? It's all about building trust, and that comes with transparency, which is actually very human, even in relationships across, which was even before AI came in. We do businesses. It's all based on transparency. That's how you build the trust. That's how you build a very long-lasting relationships. True to the fact, I think even today, what we take forward in our sales is the same relationship, right? So transparency is very essential, but in partner marketing, it needs to be managed thoughtfully, because you've got three. So it's two-way, I would say. The customer is looking at two different organizations where their integration is happening, and we're talking to them, right? So we're not just representing one brand, we're bringing two together, or in some cases three together, when we maybe in some cases, like Karan, we'd work with hyperscalers, so we go with them, three of them, right? So together, two or more trusted names, shared story is what we are looking at, right? So that means every message needs to feel very authentic, aligned, and kind of credible for all sides. You can't just build a story based on just one credible brand which is there, right? So customers are today expecting honesty, like something which Karan said, right? There is something about trusting humans, and now there might be more doubts, because people all look at, hey, is it AI or it is actually the human talking to me, right? So they want to understand why a partnership exists, what's the value, what it brings to them, how it will translate to outcome, like what we were saying, right? They're looking at the solution. They're not looking at anything else right now. They're not looking at beyond. They're looking at how is it going to help me in the long run? How is it going to transform my business? Like we talk about, we are bringing you an AI platform which will transform your business completely, right? So they're looking at that. They're not looking at truly to say that, hey, what is it that you at ServiceNow? We focus on that also, right? I would say it's called purposeful transparency. We would look at it, and we don't share everything. What matters the most, and that's what we need to choose. And it's something we do always consciously as human beings. We choose words which matter, which would make sense to everybody and understand. So for example, how our platform integrates with a partner's capability to solve a specific business problem or deliver faster time to value or something in those lines, right? We have those statements. We go jointly talking to customers. So there, I would say there's too much of unfiltered detail sometimes, which can dilute clarity. But again, proof points, customer outcomes, measurable success, all these strengthens both the brands, and that's the transparency we have to bring in. So transparency is not, I don't mean that it is overexposure, right? You don't go about and say everything and anything, but it should be openness with an intent. We have done things right. It builds the credibility with the customer. They are confident that, okay, I can go with them, and that's the balance where brand truly grows within the customer. And it's sometimes, I think, Karan, you would have seen that where there are cases where a brand will go with DXC, not exactly the partner brand. It might go with ServiceNow, but not with the other brand. So vice versa, right? So it's that trust with that brand you build, and that you continuously. So it is, I would say it is kind of goes hand in hand. maybe not too much. I would say, like I said, it's not overexposure. It's all about the correct intent we are taking forward. I think that's what I think. It's like a mix, and with AI coming in, it's become more and more relevant that we make that intent very clear, right? What is, as a brand, what is our intent to give them customer? I'm talking more in terms of when we you know trust is the new currency kind of thing. It's been always, but let's see how it goes and uh, takes all of us forward. I think yeah, I will hand it over to Ada and Karan to give their thoughts. It's my thought in terms of honest but focused kind of approach.
So, Uday, would you like to add?
Yeah, to take off from where Bindu, I think she's covered it extremely well and gave it an angle both from ServiceNow as well as DXC. I think this is one of the most nuanced debate in modern marketing. Radical transparency versus strategic storytelling. Like Bindu was saying, customers demand honesty. And if you're caught dishonest at any point of your communication, I think that's it. That's the last you can see of the customer. And then through that, the negative ripple effects. So what's important is customers demanding honesty should be heard and understood very well. Brands also need to protect their narrative and maintain the competitive edge. So I'm just giving it another color to what Bindu said. So fundamentally, everybody knows why transparency is important, because it's a trust dividend, like she was mentioning. And there is enough research and studies that show that the brands are perceived as transparent, and those brands that are seen or perceived as transparent, they enjoy higher loyalty and advocacy. So the first sale happens because of marketing and sales, but the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth happens because of what we deliver on our promises and deliver on time and deliver on quality. So the advocacy parts come because of that. And the word of mouth of the customer and the partner actually resonates with newer buyers. So that's one important area. We're talking also about the radical openness. You can go at any depth to show the radical openness. It's like human beings. We can be extremely transparent. But it's important that at a marketing level, can we humanize a company? We tried doing that in our website creation. There was a brand intonation exercise that we did. We got a flavor of how Secure Tech as a brand is perceived by a customer, in which there's a play of a hero, there's a play of everyday man, and there's a play of amiable and a very friendly organization to the customers. So when you humanize a company, you can differentiate it across the crowded markets, especially in our world of cybersecurity. It's extremely crowded. The second important thing that Bindu alluded to was proof over promises. Customers are increasingly expecting evidence. So you need to back it up with data. So in our infographics, our various marketing communications, including what the salesperson demonstrates as proof points, or we take actually testimonials and customers' words and case studies. These data are very, very important. If it is a third party verified, it becomes even more important. For instance, we have Avasant, who in their radar view has told that we were challenges for the last 3-4 years, and then we became a disruptor now. So when an Avasant analyst of pedigree, he says that these people are using AI powered technology and these are disruptors, there is a lot of merit that goes in. Or if ISG were to say you're a contender, or if MSSP alert says that you are in the top 79, each of these verifications from a third party reputed source becomes a proof point. Being vague about your claims does not help anybody. The third is the cultural alignment. So customers are actually looking at you and also looking at a cultural alignment. So there is a transparency that should be there that resonates. And we have buyers across the age groups. We have younger buyers, we have got millennials and Gen Zs. There are obviously gray-haired people like me, who reward brands that walk the talk, especially from an ethics point of view, sustainability point of view, and inclusion point of view. Given that we are talking about AI, ethics is a very, very critical thing. And do you do what you talk about in your marketing, or does your sales, does your delivery, do everybody actually walk the talk? But let's just put the other cap and just wear the debating cap of over transparency and the risk that comes with it. Exposing your vulnerabilities, revealing too much about what you are doing, talking too much about financial struggles or internal conflicts or anything of that sort that talks about a delayed delivery or delayed execution, that doesn't really help so much. So you must be having a play which manages this vulnerability. Similarly, information overload. Customers don't want all the details. I mean, we know the butterfly effect. We know that thanks to the reels and the world that are played at large, nobody is having the time to read so much. So they don't want all the nitty gritty. They don't want all the details. They want the right details. So oversharing can also dilute the brand story and it can confuse the message. You're talking about competitors' advantage. If you do a radical openness, it may hand sensitive data to your competitors and to your rivals. So fundamentally, I want to ensure that transparency should be enough to build trust, but you must be very careful about its backfiring, especially from a reputation damage and weakening the story. The story power, storytelling power that Bindu alluded to, it's a brand narrative, and obviously we are all building brands for a lifetime and 100 plus years. So a brand narrative should be about coherence. It cannot just be one off. And you say something today, something else tomorrow. Don't back it up with data. It is not a data dump. So you've got to be selective in your disclosure. You have to highlight your strengths, and you have to stay authentic, especially in the AI world. There should be also contextual honesty, sharing the why behind a certain decision that you have taken. For instance, if there is a price increase or there is a product delay, it happened with one of my competitors, CrowdStrike. We all know the outage that happened. So how do you handle that situation? All that helps you to build credibility without exposing every operational detail. You must also put guardrails. So you cannot do this without balancing, especially from a privacy, security, or brand positioning. So for me, the important thing is, while we have to be open about values, we have to be open about processes and mistakes that matter to the customers. Let's not overshare. Let's anchor transparency in storytelling. You should reveal enough to be trusted, but not so much that you lose control of your story. A brand like SecureTech has to be a storyteller, and that story has to be controlled. So it's a controlled narrative. Don't overdo it. It has to be a fine balance. That's my input. And I agree with most of the things that Bindu was mentioning. I just gave it an angle from a cybersecurity perspective. Thanks, Bindu, for the inputs.
Over to you, Karan. Do you want to add another layer to this discussion?
No, I think, see, you've covered all. I just want to say that we are really living in something we called as the post-truth world, right? Many a times facts, even they are right, they will be subservient to maybe some emotions or some narratives and misinformation and so on. And I think what they called out, right, what happened with CrowdStrike, and we work with CrowdStrike as well, as their implementation partner. So it is very important to come out clean in in the best interests of how the organization is, as well as in the best interests of what the customer wants. But then you really don't want to overdo it. The other aspect, I think, we probably as marketers would want to do, and this probably could also be relevant for some of the upcoming companies, or the startups, not established organizations, maybe like, while established organizations still do that, is something like a community building, wherein we I remember, my first experience, I think some whatever 10-15 years back, with community building was when Microsoft would have their communities around, somewhere around, and even Facebook used to have, right, when they would have, let's say, something went wrong in their codes, or some issues came up, and that is how people would solve, and then they would trust, and then there would be some people coming in, from, let's say, a Microsoft, into that community and helping the other person. So that brings in a lot of trust in what we say as this post truth world, right, which is where, I think, since it is going to be a layered process, it's going to be very, very helpful, to achieve that level of transparency. Okay, this brand does well because they are there for us when it matters, or if they don't know, they tell us, or if they can't solve it, they tell us, or if and it's not about saying that I can't solve it, my competitor can solve it. It's not about, it's just about contextualizing it, saying that, okay, we will do our best or something like that. I think that probably is a very good way. Um, uh, like now we've all of us, right? I mean, I know because we work very closely with service. Now I know a lot of these uh, social media channels we have, right? Let's say a LinkedIn. It's like a live community happening, right? Q&A happening, somebody posting. I know for sure, know a lot of people post on the DXC India page, and I mean, since I am responsible, I know what comes there and what people would expect for us to get back. So somewhere that level of transparency is really helpful in building up that brand.
So transparency should be at a level according to what everyone has said so far. And going to the topic of discussion, the introduction of AI in the market has been a buzzword right now. So with the generative AI entering the content creation, what does the new balance between human creativity and machine efficiencies look like in brand storytelling? Would you like to start?
Sorry, who did you ask?
I'm asking you.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay. See, I think we have like probably beaten this to death now in all these marketing communications and all conversations which we are having. There are two, three things which I feel become probably very relevant. I think the language of coding has changed. It is now English. So that means everyone can make everything. Now, what that means also is anyone can raise their hand and say, I become a marketer, which is not wrong. I completely agree to that. It democratizes everything and anything to do with marketing. And what that then also means is that we need to become better. So I see AI as a tool in which, and this is not what in my words, I have heard this, that you become good to great and from great to awesome working with AI. And we need to use that as a tool. I mean, it's just like probably when uh, I would say, when the Microsoft Office came up, people weren't really aware about, okay, you can also email. Oh, okay, you can also do a calculation on an Excel. Maybe I was not even, there in that those times. I can't say, but that is the reaction I hear from the old, techies. This time it is much, much more transformational. We just need to be aware of how things need to work. I'll give you like a very like anecdote sort of a thing. When I do a chat with chat gpt, I still would say, can you please do this, right? The in a I mean, maybe because I don't know, I've been brought up that way, or that is how we speak, or it's like that formal speak. My daughter, when she does this, she does, first of all, doesn't do the chatting, like she doesn't do the typing, she is speaking. So I don't do that. I prefer typing. And the way she speaks is something which sometimes I feel that our upbringing is uh, probably not right now, how we brought it up, but that is how it is. So it's very, I mean, changing like anything. In the marketing space, probably we need to gather in all these inputs and become much, much better. I think that is the chance we have. Yes.
Bindu, what's your opinion
Yeah.
on this?
I loved what Karan started saying with that, right? That AI, everybody can become a marketer. I think everybody can become a coder as well. So I'm on this, I'm on an MIT agentic AI, course I'm doing. And believe you me, I'm like doing something like vibe coding and stuff like that. And it is quite interesting. And I completely agree, right? AI, generative AI, it's like just names, which is changing the entry point of creativity at the end of the day. Real skill is not how you can code, it's about the prompts, which is again human. We have to think, how you prompt. The prompt has become the new creative brief for, even because we know the agency is also going to use that when we are going to tell them something to be done today. And like Karan said, right, it is generations use it differently. I completely agree that they're more direct, and like, I think it's also, yeah, bringing it. The anecdote is so like, I will also write, can you please, do you suggest, or do you think? And it's like a conversation we start with a very elderly person who knows more than me. I would look at it that way. Like, you would sit down with your grandfather or somebody and trying to get some information from his experience is what I would look at. The quality of what you get from AI depends on how clearly we can think, frame, and, guide it. So, there are times it might just go back and forth a long time, but sometimes, like he said, his daughter can get it in an hour, less than an hour's time, and we take like a day to get that response out of them. So that to me is where human creativity still leads, right? That prompt, the brief, which is to be, it's not about using AI for shortcuts. It's about using it as a co-creator. It's like your buddy, I would say, at the end of the day, right? That's why people are building, let's build AI agents, because they are tired of briefing a person maybe, and, and those are those mundane things they don't want to do. Someone that helps you test the ideas faster, visualize it better, express more freely. Like, example is, I was doing an assignment which had me to build one web page, and I just wanted an idea. Of course, I'll give it finally to an agency to build it, put that platform in place, but I wanted, what I'm trying to visualize, is it clear, the brief is clear. So that kind of helps, right? So uh, but when you learn this, like, exactly, I'm going back to what Karan said, we become coders as well. We don't need to go back to that agency and that they cannot take me for a ride kind of attitude we go with, right? We know what we are doing very clearly. But you still need judgment, empathy, and a narrative sense, quality that only as human beings we have. I come from service now, right? We see AI as something that works for people. Grounded responsibility is there, transparency and trust. So that's why we are saying responsible AI is what we talk about always. Putting AI to work for people is responsibly putting it for work for people. We use it to simplify operational sides of marketing so that our teams focus on creative and strategic sides. That's what how we are looking at. And when I look at from a partner marketing side, I'm coming back to it because I'm working very closely on that line, and I see a lot of difference because I'm coming from an enterprise background also. I was managing, say, InfoScout or Hitachi. I was working with regions and across, um, and the balance everywhere plays every day, be it partner or our regional marketing or across you know industry marketing as well, right? We bring multiple voices together. And AI helps us scale that further. That's what I would say. It's analyzing the, I would say, engagement signals, optimizing content or something, identifying what's the storyline resonates the most. It's something we have been talking from the beginning. If I connect back what we started off with, right? It's all about trust. It's all about connections. It's everything is interrelated. And also what Uday said earlier, it's the storytelling is important, but the whole thing is why the story. What's the why behind the story is what we have to all bring about. So we we use AI to, I think all of us do. We use AI to interpret engagement data, identify what's the next emerging content patterns, what's the buying persona, which is, building more traction for all of us. And we give that note to AI to give us that data back, put that dashboard together. I would say it has become easier for us, but it's just that there's a very fine line in becoming easier and becoming, just too dependent on it. That is where I think that fine line is something, you know, something which I think something about culture, which Nakaran said, right? That cultural nuance, their empathy is something which we need to ensure it's high. That's when we are taking it out to the customer, that's what will show the authenticity of what we are talking about. So yes, AI is giving everyone the tools to create. The prompt, the intent, the clarity, emotion still comes from human, like us. And machines can execute brilliantly, and I've seen that as well nowadays. But it's us who sets that direction, and that's what keeps, like, again, creative authenticity alive. Is, I think that's what I would say.
Uday,
That's it.
what's your take on this?
I would love to hear from Uday also what he thinks about it.
Thank you, Bindu, and thanks, Karan. I think fabulous facets from your individual perspectives. I like the story that both of you weaved into answers. As you were talking, I was intrigued because I'm putting on my philosopher's cap. Um, Jithu Krishnamurti is somebody I read and I listen to quite often. Uh, he's very profound, and whenever there is a discourse on subjects like fear or anything of that sort, he brilliantly asks questions. He doesn't give too many answers, but he asks questions, and in those questions, and people start answering them, it keeps getting refined, and towards the end of that entire narrative of an hour, the answer is there. So I think the world is completely transformed into, do you know how to ask the right questions? The tool sets of today's education should be, how do you ask the right questions? The prompt engineering aspect that Bindu just touched upon. The second facet that I want to bring is this word plagiarism. While content can be lifted by AI with all the data sets from everywhere in the world, what is very important is this word plagiarism. So the originality cannot go out. And again, people play with various percentages. I remember a conversation with my media agency where she said anything above 16% is not acceptable. But is 16% acceptable? I mean, so questions like that. The third aspect is one of the, we know for a fact that Sam Altman's company has been taken to the cleaners. Literally, there is a case going on in the by New York Times because a lot of content has been taken away from that. So for me, some of these things have to be kept in mind. So this is a fascinating shift, like Karan was saying, which is happening in the marketing right now. Like Bindu said, there is a machine efficiency, which nobody can dispute. But the machine doesn't have the human creativity. So I'm very, very happy about my right side of the brain. Because brand storytelling is all about human creativity. Otherwise, life becomes very boring. Just imagine all of us putting the same words in our brochures, in our content, our video. Who's going to watch it? It's always the newness that is important. So generative AI, that is on the question, is no longer just a novelty. I think it's becoming a core part of how brands ideate, how brands produce their content, how do they scale narratives. I'm using another word called scaling because we need to scale with fewer people, fewer resources, fewer budgets, but we need to reach a larger number of people. So the narratives on that. So the balance that Bindu talked about, I think is not about replacement, but I use this word orchestration. So clearly we all know what AI brings to the table, scale and speed. AI can generate drafts, variations, formats, blogs, social posts, video scripts in seconds. In fact, I think this whole thing is now, this whole job is now going to become a more of a machine job. Maybe interns can play with it. It doesn't really need to scale up the ladder. But when you go into data-driven personalization, now that's where it starts becoming a little complex. Obviously, AI has got algorithms, they can tailor content, but we now need to tailor content to micro segments. Like for instance, when in secure tech, when we talk about BFSI segments and in that financial service, in that mutual funds, you have to go down deeper because the requirement of each of these, both from compliance and cybersecurity, as well as in terms of risk and other aspects that they need to take care of, is very different. So the wrappers around the core technology is very different. The second thing is the tone. The entire we have to optimize our tone. The timing is very important, and the channel of communication that becomes very important. So again, AI cannot give you the right answers. It is what it can do is do things for you, and then we can see what's working, what's not working. The third aspect is clearly your efficiency in production. So there is anything which is routine, I think just should be left to the machine that can do it. Anything which is repetitive, anything which has got a lower stakes in terms of content, your FAQs, your product descriptions, your A/B test variants, all of them can be automated, which can free us up, especially marketers. If you want to take this grunt work and give it to somebody, and then obviously put somebody on top of it to monitor some plagiarism and other things, that's okay. But we can free ourselves for a higher order work. The other thing that AI is extremely good is in pattern recognition. I've actually seen AI doing a phenomenal analysis and audience behavior. I think Karan talked about signals earlier. In one of our tools, we have a lot of signals that we get when there is a browsing that is done by a target segment person. When they go and browse, I get a signal saying that, hey, your target audience is searching for this information, and would you like to correspond with them? So those kind of behavior detection, trend detection, anything else which is having a human action, we humans cannot see it, especially from a social listening point of view. But there are many areas that is undisputed where humans still do the best. I think anything on emotional resonance. I think Bindu talked about emotions. I think the storytelling, it's not just about words, it's about meaning. I think humans can infuse empathy, humor, cultural nuance. I always stop by and look at Amul board, Amul's hoardings, or any of that content that come in. You have a smile on your face, you read something, it is contextual. So that is something that is a very human centric. Your strategic framing, why that story matters. Why should that customer, that ICP customer of yours read that content? AI cannot do all that. AI can just put words. This ethics and honesty, authenticity, that this is where data poisoning comes in. Now, both from a tech perspective, secure tech, cybersecurity solutions are AI powered, generative AI, we use AI, ML, and we use all of that. But we are very careful about data poisoning. I'm talking technical now. So if the data set that it's learning from is poisoned, then it will pick up the wrong thing, and the good stuff will become false positives, and we would start going into areas which will become troublesome from a cybersecurity perspective. Same way, if there is a bias set that it has learned from, and that is being applied onto your creativity, you would have sob stories and sorry stories to be told by the head of marketing. We also know of a case where I think it's Deloitte or someone who had to pay so much of money because they just did ChatGPT copy paste. So you can't do all that. You need to have honesty. You need to have authenticity. It should align with values. It should avoid bias. It should feel genuine. I think genuineness cannot come from AI. The last thing that I can expect from AI is genuineness that can come from. So when I heard Karan's story, and especially that of your daughter, talking into it, that's a genuine story. I listened to you same way when she talked about her coding. So these are genuine stories that people would actually like to talk about. Similarly, creative leaps. AI is good at mixing patterns, remixing patterns, but true originality, can you get a Mona Lisa out of AI? I'm very sure no. So unexpected metaphors, disruptive campaigns, that can only come from human imagination. And that is a smart brand. So if there is a word that I want to prefix now with brand marketing, it's all about smart branding, because that's where the real magic happens, when the AI and the human insight works together. So as a takeaway, I believe that the future of brand storytelling is co-creation. Let AI handle volume, let it handle variation, let it handle velocity, but please, please, please put your eyes on it. Validate, validate, validate. Don't just take it on its value and just copy paste it. Let the human focus on vision, values, and voice. So the formula is not AI versus human, but it's AI plus human, where efficiency fuels creativity and creativity guides efficiency. That's where I think we'll do the new balance. So it's symbiosis, not substitution.
Talking about how you have said that human touch is the main thing that we have to consider while using AI. So basically, what we have to build, or what we have to keep in check is how the AI is transforming the storytelling, and keep a human touch on that. So now shifting to our next topic of discussion, we have, in a world where consumers are switching brands with one click, is brand loyalty an outdated concept, or does it still exist if marketers know how to earn it? So Uday, would you like to start?
Brand loyalty isn't dead, will never be dead, will never, ever, ever go out of fashion. So it's just been rewired. Let's use this word rewired for the digital age. Because I think, today's brand switching, especially in the B2C world, it costs nearly zero for the end customer. But from the marketing team's perspective, how many dollars did you spend to acquire that customer? That is not really there. So you need to ensure brand loyalty. And loyalty is no longer about a habit or any lack of alternatives. So let's use this word earned preference. It's an earned preference. So clearly, as far as e-commerce is concerned, subscription models in our world, especially in SaaS, or if you have any competing platforms, customers have a choice today, and it's effortless. And they can actually put in those queries even to the AI, and it starts giving you comparative statements. And so there's a lot of frictionless switching that the customer can do both in the B2C and into the B2B world. In our world, one of the things we talk about from why a customer should get into cybersecurity products and solutions is if they ever get impacted and their services get disrupted, customers, their branding will completely go for a 6. Customers then have a choice. They'll switch to your competitor, and then your shareholding will drop, etc., etc. So these are very genuine problems which customers don't really foresee at the time of deciding a cybersecurity product or solution. But an attack can actually bring all that up. So this switching is very, very true. So we have to be very careful about loyalty. Second is choice overload. Customers are bombarded with options. They often chase novelty or a discount in the B2C world. But there are still products like iPhone, the latest one, 17, was being bought at a premium, although there are no great features in 17 over 16 and the earlier versions, or if you compare it to other brands which are in the market. So why is somebody paying you so much? In fact, there are visuals in the television where somebody's standing in queues for overnight to buy an iPhone. So that entire thing is all about loyalty. Transactional mindset, the customers optimize for convenience and price. Long-term allegiance is what something you should really look for. So LTVs come into play when you talk about it. But if you look at the digital era, the loyalty definition has undergone a transformation because consumers are more empowered, they're more informed, they're connected. For virtually anything, there is feedback that can be read or seen in the systems. And each of that, if you take a company's brand, you go to the Glassdoor, you know what employees are talking about. If you go down to travel, there are advisories that you can read. There's so much that you can do. But I would say earned loyalty, because trust is the currency. So we talked about transparency in the earlier question. We talked about reliability. We talked about ethical practices. All of them brings in stickiness. And I do know that for a fact, because when you're presented with two choices of one which is not a known brand, one is a known brand, 80% of the time we go to the known brand and we always go back. In fact, in our world, in IT, they say you can never lose your job if you buy from IBM. I mean, it's a statement made because of the brand loyalty. But at the same time, there is a personalization that you need to do. So the brands that can use data to tailor experiences and anticipate needs, they can foster the emotional bonds. We talked about community. I think it was Bindu who talked about community. And so in community, there is also your identity. So the customer feels that he's a part of the brand mission. There's this word called tribe, where we talk about brand loyalty, and brand loyalty deepens with engagement. We also need to be consistent across various touch points. That's marketing uses. So across omni-channel experiences, we have to reinforce that confidence. You can't be saying something on one social channel and completely different thing in another place, especially when customers are touching you in multiple touch points. Again, there is a survey that says that before a customer buys, there's almost like 22 touch points that they have. And many of them do not even involve a face-to-face with a sales guy. So when we are in this kind of a digital world, you need to be consistent. So for me, brand loyalty definitely is not outdated. It's no longer passive. It is actively cultivated. It needs value alignment, showing your customers we share their priorities. You can do micro customization that way. We can experience orchestration, make every interaction seamless, especially during the entire cycle of wooing them to billing them and then delivering services. Storytelling should be emotional. I don't think that can ever go out of fashion. So today, loyalty is less about lock-in. It's more about, let's use the word love-in. Brands that understand this can create customers who can stay, who can advocate, even forgive occasional missteps, which we spoke about. I think that's what it is all about. Brand loyalty will always stay.
Karan, would you like to have your take on this?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a couple of perspectives. One is I think we know, right? There is a lot of products, right? There is a lot of choice. Now, the choice is something which we sometimes feel that this is we feel a threat with that choice, right? That's where all these discussions also sort of come in, that okay, we need to have our customers we need to cultivate that brand loyalty. Now, I come from a services company, and I mean Bindu, and they come in from the product perspective, right? And uh, uh, many a times replaceability is something which product companies would feel much more, than a services company. But even in our part of the world, when I say IT services, uh, there are, you could say, thousands and thousands of services companies. So it's for example, let's say take a product like ServiceNow, because that is something which we work quite closely with. Now there could be uh, smaller ServiceNow partners, boutique ServiceNow partners, large GSIs like us, or it could be somewhere geography based, or it could be even module based, partners, and so on and so forth. Now, what would be the brand loyalty of, let's say, an enterprise customers, where they would want somebody to, let's say, implement a product like ServiceNow, which is going to be affecting the entire working, let's say the entire, the HR module, if that is something which we are sort of transforming, or the ID services, the ITSM, if let's say we are sort of putting in. So, are they willing to take that risk on with a smaller boutique partner, or would they go with somebody established, like let's say like a large GSI? I think we also face those issues in the services business. Brand loyalty is still, maybe uh, underneath the surface, not that much, but it is as important as it can be. And as what they said, right, it is not really about the entire digital transformation or the transformation which has happened. Finally, we are humans selling to humans, right? We will trust somebody who will be at a very basic level nice with us, be comfortable to work with, maybe trust us as well, and so that we can trust them back, give us something in as maybe out of like a gift, which are basically unique human values. Nothing, I mean, not really chattering stuff. We are, if I like somebody, I'll talk to them. If I don't, I'll not. And with the I would say plethora of choices which have come in, I think brand loyalty has become much more important, because that is what is now the differentiating factor. It is not about the product. I know, for example, even ServiceNow as a product, I know it can be, the work which ServiceNow does can be done by 5 different products, but I will still go to an organization and say, you go and install ServiceNow. Why? Because you trust that product, because we use it ourselves, because we've seen it working for other companies, and so on and so forth. So it is not just about me trusting, it's also about somebody telling me that it is, like as a trusted advisor, that this is trustworthy, and so on and so forth. So it's there, very much there. I mean, I don't see that as uh, like a doubt or anything, just that it has to manifest in different ways.
Bindu, would you like to add something?
Yeah, kind of I'll echo with what Karan and what they have actually said, right? Loyalty isn't dead; it's rewired, changed, or however it's not a habit anymore. It it's I will take Uday's word, right? Earned preference, right? It's like Karan said, the sheer number of products and platforms and choices today the customer has, it's a threat for some companies. So that's in that environment, loyalty becomes the main, which is built defensively, I would say. Fear that I should not lose the customer. But that's also where I'll go back to the first point, right? Trust comes as the real differentiator. The customer might experiment, I would say, like with a new boutique company. But when they think the stake is high, like, oh, they said they'll go with an IBM because they know it'll never, they will never fail or fall, lose a job. But when reliability, integration matter, they will look for those kind of brands, and they know it will deliver. So that's where I think loyalty becomes not just emotional, it's just rational. There's a risk reduction through trust, I would say. Right. In ServiceNow ecosystem, it's we are a platform company. We work with large global partners and specialized regional ones as well. And the way we show up, it's consistently, responsibly, and transparently. I keep saying that because we push the fact it's responsible AI, because that's something. And I think it you have responsible AI, you know, um, I would say a role completely, which is being created in certain organization to, keep a check on whether it's a responsible AI work being done, something which Uday just said, right? The plagiarism, the fact that, how much human and how much AI it is. Does it matter? It is not the point about it matters or not to customer, right? Is it going too far, the 16% or 5%? There are tools which give you differentiation between how much you have written is AI and how much it is human. But I have also tried that in different platforms, and the percentages keep differing. Some say we are 50% human, and if I have written something and put it up, that's 100% AI. So so whom to trust is something where that's when you say that, can I trust the AI completely for the result or answers I'm looking at? Is we need to take a step back. That's again goes back to the fact that, humans have to write the prompt, and that fear of people that, AI, I might lose job to AI, is something they have to understand right now. That it's not completely, you are the person who's building the AI to become more intelligent. So you need to have that, your right brain, like they said. I'm happy with that, because I have to use that more often. And yeah, AI adds another dimension, going back to scale and speed, personalizing, anticipating what you want looking at. And, it, it also raises the bar of authenticity, going back to the fact that, how authentic we can't just copy paste what works, like he said, right? Every touch point has to feel intentional or real, something which again I go back to saying that responsible AI, like we focus on, in becomes crucial. It allows us to scale without losing the human connection. So earlier, like I have led India, APAC, and now with looking at a global market, the essence I see has not changed across. Expression has, maybe because different cultures with different people we work with, but the basic essence does not change. Customers have more choices today. The attention span has become very short. It was always short. Like I think with kids, we see always say, oh, he's not focusing. That's the state of affairs with all customers as well. They are trying to see, can you tell me right now what you want to say? I don't have that much time. Somebody else can bring in what they want to see actually or hear immediately. So loyalty is not assumed today. It's earned preference with what Uday said, and renewed at every interaction, I would summarize by saying. So it's about who customers know and about how to trust to show up consistently. That's what makes them stay. I think I will summarize like that. I've just echoed the same views and just put it in a different format. Like I said, I started off bumpy because of a early morning for me, but all good. I think I'm reaching there.
The
Coming
coffee
to
is working.
Oh, I'm waiting for it.
coming to our last question of the day, what's one old marketing rule you think we must unlearn to succeed in the next era? Bindu, would you like to start?
I think as we spoke so much, right? There is so much. I think it's for me. I always, when I'm sitting or we get into a new job. It's always learn, relearn, unlearn, relearn, relearn, unlearn, and today it's a daily process. For me, at least, it's a daily process. I always say that, I some days come into work and I'm like, oh, everything is like I've been here for 100 years. But some days it's like I'm in a new organization. I have to learn new things, unlearn what I've learned, and relearn something completely new, right? Old things again. So I think the biggest rule we need to unlearn is that marketing owns the message. It's not that completely, right? It's a very linear world today. One brand, one audience, one channel. Today the story is like everywhere. Everybody is I sometimes feel all of us have the same tagline at some point in time. We repeat better together, connect, everything, and every organization in their tagline would have that. So we talk about putting AI to work for people. ServiceNow, the world works with ServiceNow. World works better with ServiceNow. Like I was in Hitachi, we were like better together for a long time. So I see that better together being used at a lot of places in different formats, maybe internally, externally, and with customers, partners, even with the algorithms shaping what people see, right? AI is all about algorithm. And I watched this series. I was watching this series which is called Trial. I don't know if it's all about trial science. I had never imagined that in law there'll be something called trial science. It's all about algorithm. Again, that's AI working, right? So I was amused by the way the whole system can be manipulated with AI, but still in a good way. I would say that's what they wanted to show. But yeah, it was bull. Yeah, not trial. It's all about trial sciences. But if you get it, it's all about algorithm and how it plays around with mind of people, how you are analyzing how people are reacting and getting to results. So coming back to the fact is real shift is now from ownership and to enablement, I would say, controlling every word, because that's what AI is doing to empower partners, advocates, customers, us to tell the story authentically. So I think in our ecosystem model, when I look at it in ServiceNow, success depends on how aligned and consistent we are across the voices, because we are, like Karan said, right? DXC and ServiceNow work together. In a lot of, we go together to customers, we go together to market. And when that comes in, we ensure that as marketeers, we ensure our aligned messaging is there. We are consistently talking about the same communication. And if it's industry, are we talking in those same lines? Like, you'll see a lot of people talking about retail stores, everything, right? In financial services, there's so much. How are we using AI? And if you ask me, financial services is one of the biggest industries which is adopting AI on a daily basis. They are looking at, okay, and if you look at it, it's very fast. It's moving fast, right? Every day. Earlier, we used to think we have versions coming out of products and solutions. Now, today, Gen AI, Agentic AI agents, it's the same thing in different ways, but it has what we don't understand. Underlying, it is improving by the day. And when I say improving, it is humans making it improve, right? We are building that capability in that entire AI to step up. And building, so just to say that, building on what we have been discussing, like AI, loyalty, and trust, I'd say we need to unlearn the obsession with authorship, like, who authored it is about understanding and reading inside the tools, that how much of a piece is AI generated versus human. But does that really matter? It's authentic, relevant, and responsible. It should not. I look at it like that, right? When, even if it is we jointly created, like Karan said, or Uday, or all of us are doing, right? We put a prompt in. That prompt is mine. I am giving that prompt to that AI to build that. So that has to result in an authentic, relevant, responsible uh, statement, which I'm going to take to market. Audience does not care who wrote it. It it cares if it connects and it is adding value to them. It is building that transformational journey for them. Are we supporting that journey? So to me, the new rule is, let's stop guarding the message. We should start guiding it in the right path, right? It's like, that's where I think a lot of in our organization, ServiceNow is like telling us, leverage AI, use prompts, become intelligent with your prompts, right? That's what we all try to do. And I think every organization is trying to see how we can merge, how we can, like, data is there. Take the help support of, you can't sit down and put things together. You can't be dependent, but that's the new rule. Stop guarding. It's more about being consistent and the credible one across every region, partners, ecosystems, or every touch point. That credibility and consistency is what matters. In a way, we've moved from marketing as ownership to marketing as orchestration, something which I think Uday said as a word, right? Orchestrate it, right? So that's what marketing as an orchestrator. We are an orchestrator for this entire journey, which the organizations are building as AI. And that, I think, is what defines leadership in this new era, creating conditions where every part of the ecosystem can tell the story right. The storytelling has to be right. That's why I said I'm echoing whatever we spoke about, what Karan said, what Uday said, because I think that's what we unlearn to, move forward successfully. That's what I would say. I will wait to hear from both of them.
Karan, what's your take on this?
I think a couple of things, right? What just sort of picking up, we've reached a saturation of channels, is how I see it, right? I mean, everyone is everywhere. So I think we need to take that obsession of probably that. Um, um, uh, for example, there is still this thought we have that B2B is only for LinkedIn. But right now, what you see on LinkedIn is probably all what you would see on Facebook as well. And and then maybe maybe a couple of years down the line, somebody's going to build up a product which is entirely AI powered, and it's going to be another channel, right? So what we say uh, probably is very relevant, but the channel could become really, really immaterial. And I think the second part is when we are going to be building finally it is going to be we building brand stories. Now that brand story, I'll give an example, right? We internally we had a we did a video, right, which is entirely AI generated. Now it is not going to be about um, okay, that big agency was there who did this, that that big, maybe a Sachi and Sachi was doing this, or maybe this person was doing. It could be anyone. So the brand story, even if it can be said in a manner which is let's say, for example, the two of us or three of us talking, or if it is in a video, or if it is in text, I think that is what matters. So the content probably matters, but the channel is really irrelevant. Is how I see it. So and then the other thing is, we spoke about it, right? Technology is democratizing a lot of stuff. So if I, as a non-coder, can dream to code, uh, that means there would be so many people like me, and somebody who is like a non-marketer wanting to become a marketer, there'll be so many people like them as well. So we need to take in all that complexity in, and we need to shun those um, those thoughts saying that I have reached here, now this is the best I can do. I don't think so. It's about unlearning and moving forward.
Uday, would you like to add?
Yeah, so when I was in Cisco, John Chambers was our chairman, and he had John had a wonderful way of articulating how businesses grow. So he said, if you look back and put a chart where there are companies who are in the top 100 or top 10, top 20, whatever, you will find that over every decade, the placement of these organizations start changing. And then at some point, let's say 20, 30, 40 years, the names will completely get out of that list. So the lists that are there, let's say 25 years from the original list, would be completely different as it is. And then if you put it to a new age companies, again, we have a brand new set of companies which are sitting on the top 10, top 20, top 100 in the world. The rule that he was talking about was those companies that die are the ones who cannot adapt. We know the Kodak story. We know the stories of companies who do not adapt, and then clearly they bite the dust. So he says the ones which will survive and do very well. This is quote unquote John Chambers, was one of the iconic leaders of today. He talks about looking at patterns and looking at behaviors and looking at emerging technologies, and then getting aligned to that. So the relearn, pick up Bindu's words on learn, unlearn, relearn, is all about adaptability. It also goes back to how much are you willing to learn. Given that technologies and the word that current use, democratizing it. The technology is changing so much. How much are you learning on a daily basis? How much are you unlearning on a daily basis? How much are you applying that knowledge on a daily basis and seeing whether it succeeds or fails? How can you fail fast using a software parlance or a development parlance? So all of that should become the new area of, and we in secure tech, and when we have a situation where we don't have the fancy dollars from a marketing perspective, you have to become very creative on how you can present the same stories and yet fight the giants who have $1 million budgets. So if there is one old rule that we should all unlearn, that how do you tell the story uh, most effectively? So in the broadcast era that we all know, there used to be polished messages that would come through some few dominant channels, and they would scream their voices through these channels, and obviously customers would hear it and say, okay, the ones who screams the maximum and the most, those are the products that we should buy. But in today's environment, where customers are creating or co-creating with you, are remixing your content, especially from a solutioning perspective. I think Karan mentioned that in his first answer. Uh, can you coexist with what they have? Because they're not going to rip and replace. They're going to just coexist. They will obviously look at where the gaps are, and you need to plug in those gaps. So your entire story has to be co-created with this customer. So no matter how much of scaling that we do at a generalized mode from a marketing perspective, you still have to become that much more. So it's, let's use this thing. We do this for account-based marketing, but can I still use account-based marketing concepts in a scale marketing? So can you co-create with what the customer is saying, remix and coexist and complement what they have, so that you can consolidate the overall messaging, keeping the end customer in mind? Can we share his narrative? What does he want to do in his organization with his CEO and everybody else in real time? What is his narrative? And can we plug in our solutions to that narrative? And can we share that? So that whole thing is where we are. So gone are the days when we have total control. It's completely counterproductive. So this decentralized storytelling has to be in all the channels. So there is clearly, he's talking about LinkedIn becoming like Facebook and newer channels coming in. So social media of yesterday, social media of today, social media of tomorrow are changing completely. So you need to have storytelling in their voices to the targeted customers who come in at a certain time to view them. So the watering hole, so to speak, where the customer's coming in, that is a new learning. Reviewing of what they are saying. So social listening, while we can use the AI, how well do we listen to what they're saying? What do they say after using our product or services? Or what do they tell each other? What do they tell in the forums? What do they tell in their communities? Because all of that is shaping the brand perception and the brand itself. So that is a new learning. We talked about authenticity over polishing it. I think over controlled messages feel inauthentic. Customers trust peer voices. And I was listening to a CIO club. I had gone for a event there. They listen more to each other in the peer world than to all the vendor bombardment that they have. And I actually heard the customers telling us as marketeers, because we were some of the invitees, they told us that, hey, we listen more to what my peer in the industry is telling me to buy or use. And whenever I see a new problem, I ask my group and they tell me. So audience is trusting peer voices, and can you weave that in? Can you make your peers, the customers' peers, talk to each other through you, with you? And can you do that? Can you do a lot of behind the scene glimpses than scripted campaigns? So this entire scripting of a campaign is losing its entire merit. It has to be weaved out together. The other thing is, from a culture aspect, while the culture remains more or less same, but the speed of cultural changes, especially as we see generations of newer buyers coming in, demographics changing, the ICP is moving completely, the trends are changing, approval cycles are changing. So I don't think these rigid controls that we used to always have, that the CMO knows it all and then you go down. And incidentally, the CMOs today not being seen as a CMO, he's a business leader. There's a conversation around, can CMOs be the next CEOs? So the new mindset of all that. So we cannot be rigid about all this. So for me, all of that is also a new learning and unlearning. So the new mindset that I have is co-creation, after learning, unlearning all the time. Co-creation. So I think I'm seen more like a facilitator. I don't dictate even to my own team, because my team knows as much or more. than all the gray hairs that you have. So I think we should facilitate, not dictate. And the brands itself should create platforms. It should prompt, like Bindu was saying. We should experience everything by bringing in customers, employees, partners, your stakeholders, the investors, all of them. Let them add to your story. Think of it like a kaleidoscope, and we continuously turn, but we get new pictures. Where we should have transparency, there should be guardrails, especially in the AI world. We talked about trust and how we should share enough. So that is a complete thing. So for me, reinforcing values and purpose is very important. The agility over perfection. I think some of us have this perfection, a penchant for perfection. I think today's world asks for agility. It is iterative. It is conversational marketing. So there's nothing called a perfect campaign. We have to rip apart our best campaigns that we think is the best and shred it, because when you plot a engagement versus efficiency graph, if the engagement is not there and it is not giving enough ROI, I will not get the monies. It might be my pet campaign. So how can you remove it? So agility over perfection. So the strategic takeaway for all of us from a learning unlearning perspective is that we all know that the next era, and I talked about the shifting companies and shifting organizations. So the next era will belong to all those brands that can embrace what I call a shared ownership of their marketing narrative. So instead of asking how do we control what people say about us, the better question would be how can we empower people to tell our story along with us. That is, I think, is my answer to your question.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving a great perspective and an angle to this one. That will be all. Thank you so much to all our speakers for sharing such thought provoking insights today. And that brings us to the close of episode 3 of Marketing Playbook. We will see you again soon for the next episode with more insights, strategies, and stories shaping the future of marketing. Until then, stay innovative, stay tuned.